What's up, YouTube? I'm Biohazard here with HoneyBee, and in this video, we're going to be talking about everything NRS did wrong with MK11.
Hey yo, we noticed that only about 11% of you are actually subscribed to the channel, so go ahead and do me a favor right now and hit that subscription button. Also, it's important to note, once we hit 10,000 subscribers, we will be doing a massive giveaway here on our YouTube channel, so you'll definitely want to make sure you have notifications on for that. Don't delay, hit that subscription today. You heard?
All right, so talking about what did NRS do wrong? Well, there's a lot of different things that we can discuss about gripes here and there. I'll just throw out something for example, the breakaway input. Ever since they had a patch that made it easier to break away from things, but the way you break away from something is you do down and block. But the problem with this is that a lot of times what happens is you get hit by something and you try to block it, but if you block it late, you get, and that attack takes you, launches you somehow, then you just accidentally break away. Sometimes it might even happen mid combo or something, but mostly it was in those types of situations. And I think a big problem is that issue, I feel was brought up a lot when it came to Twitter complaints and stuff like that. There's even a term that people use for it, which is called mistakeaways. And it's they never did anything that could have fixed that. And honestly, all you really had to do was just change the input for breakaway from down and block to just down and meter burn or amplify or whatever. And it would have really been that simple. So I think something like that, it was unfortunate that they never really addressed it. I think it would have been nice. Outside of that, I think something that was generally not as good as we would have hoped would be the patches in general when it came to the game. I think patches that were meaningful just felt so few and far between. We would have a patch here, a patch there, but a lot of the times almost nothing important really got changed. I feel they might have had just one, maybe two patches where they actually had some significant changes, but a lot of times I felt they would have these patches and characters that were on the lower end of the tier list, a lot of times they just felt they were overlooked. And I could rant about Devora all day, but there's honestly a lot of things going on with that character that I just feel they could have addressed and they just never did. So stuff like that honestly was kind of disappointing. I think
I would say, as far as the patches go, somebody that plays Kano, I think the patches were nice to him. They definitely helped him out a lot. He used to be pretty bad in the beginning of the game, and through various patches that continually buffed him over time, he definitely became a much better character. But yeah, a lot of other characters didn't kind of receive the same love that Kano did, and a lot of the top tiers just never really got any significant nerfs to them that would really change how good they competed on a high level.
Right.
So yeah, the patches, when we're talking about the patches and we look at past games, NRS would really heavy-handedly, what's the word? Heavy-handed? Heavy-handed? Yes, I don't know. They would basically, the patches were pretty heavily handed with what they would change with the characters. And I think in this in MK11 they really wanted to focus on not nerfing or buffing too much, and with that they kind of didn't do much in the end. So I think there was a lot of stuff that they could have changed that they just didn't end up changing.
So yeah, unfortunately stuff like that, not the greatest. I think fatal blows in general were it's the good thing about fatal blows was that in previous NRS titles, when it comes to supers or x-rays, a lot of times they just weren't useful, or you wouldn't really see them used, just because spending all your meter on like on that was generally just not worth it, right? Generally not worth it. And I feel like with Fatal Blows at first it was like, okay, like you're gonna get access to something like a super that has its own thing, so you're gonna want to use it all the time. So that makes it kind of cool, so that we can see these things a little bit more often. But then the problem with it was just that like there were just so many things where it's just like, for one thing, like the pushback on block was and is still pretty stupid. Like sometimes people just kind of throw it out and then you can't even punish them anyways, and then on top of that it regenerates and comes back like 10 seconds later or whatever. So I always felt like that was kind of silly. And then when you include like crushing blows as well that can combo into fatal blows, it's just like the comeback potential sometimes is just a little bit too nutty, or just the robbery that you can experience with this game can just sometimes be a little bit too nutty, where it's just like you try to throw someone but they're just mashing the hell out of down two, and then down two KB fatal blow, boom, you're just losing like 40 to 50% all of a sudden, even though you might have been outplaying your opponent the whole time, but they just wanted to be kind of scrubby, you know, and then just like that you kind of lose. So I mean, that kind of sucks.
I mean, let's look at fatal blows. How do you get a fatal blow? You have to be under 30% life. So it's basically a mechanic that rewards people for losing,
right?
Which is just kind of silly in that aspect.
But yeah, so like it was meant as a comeback mechanic, but I feel like it's like a little bit too strong. Outside of that, I think well, I think when it comes to just like when it comes to variations and like the way when custom moves were like introduced as well, I think there's just a lot of things I feel in the game where slot values, so like for anyone that doesn't know, like you have 3 slots essentially that you can do for your custom moves, but a lot of them I feel like they weren't properly balanced or looked at for some of these things. Like some stuff is like a 2-slot move that interferes with something else, but should it be a 2-slot move? Like is that fair? You know, like for example, like you got Raiden, who his teleport is like a 2-slot move, right? 2-slot move for his teleport, but Cetrion's is also a teleport, but hers is actually just better because she can also use it in the air, but hers is like a 1-slot move. So why is that? Why is that way? And how is that balanced? You have Cassie with her kneecap ability. That's a projectile that low profiles her, and it's a mid, and it combos and launches into full combos, whatever. And that's 1 slot. Like, why is that 1 slot? But then you have some other stuff that's just like 2 slots, 1 slot. It's just like, sometimes it didn't really feel like it was properly balanced sometimes to me. And especially, once again, as a D'Vorah player, that I like to use D'Vorah's teleport, and that's a 2-slot move. It's kind of like, why is that a 2-slot move when some other stuff that I feel like is better can be like 1 slots? So I wasn't really a fan of like how some of that stuff was balanced.
I think with customs and the whole slot thing, I think a lot of us were just left scratching our head when you see something like, say, even Baraka's Blood Lunge being 2 slots, and then you compare it to like Shiva's Fireball, which is 1 slot or something like that.
Yeah,
it's just, it doesn't make any sense. There was no rhyme or reason to like why certain moves were 1 slot or why other were 2 slot, really.
Yeah. So I think stuff like that, it just didn't really feel like it made sense when it came to like whatever kind of balance there was. And I kind of feel like, this is like my personal opinion, but I kind of feel like when it comes to like the way these characters are with like all these moves that you could equip, but you're not always going to have them, sometimes it just makes the characters feel a little bit like weak, you know, like incomplete in ways. Like sometimes you gotta spend a slot just to equip some extra strings that maybe your characters should just always have these strings. Like, why do you need to equip something for that type of thing? So sometimes it just makes it feel like some characters are like a little bit like unfinished or just incomplete because they don't have certain moves. So that's why I'm like not a huge fan of like the whole custom moves and whatever like that, because like I feel like if you had your character and it's set out great and whatever, you have more options and combo routes and something. And sometimes with the game, like you don't feel like you have as much options as you might in previous NRS titles because of the way the custom moves work. I think there was something else that I wanted to bring up, but now it's escaping me.
I mean, people are gonna flame us if we don't talk about jump-ins. But yeah, so like we were talking about in the other video that you know, the game had better neutral overall, which it does. But you know, with that whole neutral being better, you also have to like factor in jump-in attacks as well, and you know, jump-in attacks just weren't very balanced in this game. Some characters are just way too strong with the jump-in attacks that they have, and shoutouts to Jackie and Cabal. They kind of run over a lot of the other characters just because they can't really anti-air them that
right
well.
And like some characters, like their jump threes, for example, like even Shang Tsung, for example, you know, Sindel, some of them have like these jump threes that just hit like really deep, that just makes it so hard to anti-air, or sometimes impossible to anti-air, where like maybe your only real option would be to like flawless block up to it or something like that. But you know, while it is an option, it's not the greatest of options if that's all you can really do.
Sometimes it's the only option.
Yeah. So that was jump attacks generally were a little bit too strong, I would say. And then like I think also just there's also like the how some characters, like they have just so many crushing blows, some characters barely have any. Some crushing blow requirements are from the onset of the game have always just been so silly, like so unlikely to actually hit, right? So it's like some characters will have KBs, like Liu Kang, for example, where you're probably going to see him get all his KBs in a match type of thing. You know, he's going to get his forward 4 KB, he's going to get his bicycle kick KB, you know, he's going to get whatever other KB.
Throw crushing blows.
Throw KB, right? But then you'll have like, I don't know, some other character, like for example, Noob Saibot, that has like a back 3 1+3 KB that only works if they're stand blocking, but it's like, why would you ever stand block against this character? So you're probably never gonna see it, type of thing. So sometimes like those types of KBs, they just felt like they just weren't properly like thought out, right?
Yeah.
And like it would have been nice for those to have been thought out better so that you could actually use them. Like you got Johnny Cage's like forward 4-3 KB, where he has to like whiff the first part and just hit you with the other part, and it's a high attack anyways.
You got Shiva has to run across the screen and hit you with a kick. It's just never gonna happen.
Yeah, so like sometimes like you got some stuff like that it just doesn't really make the most sense. And I feel like even like late block KBs are just kind of silly because you don't have any real control over whether or not it happens. You kind of just have to hope that your opponent just blocked late. So stuff like that was honestly a little bit silly. But overall, I think those are like the main gripes I got with the game. I would say a gripe that I had was also, if you look at other previous NRS titles, the creativity that you could really have with some of the characters in the game, it wasn't really there with MK11, because with MK11, when it boils down, it's pretty much just like a strike throw game, right?
Which a lot of characters just they all just play that strike
right.
throw game. So like unless you have command grabs or something, you can kind of change
right.
up the strike throw. But if you compare it to like, you know, Injustice 2, where characters were really different,
right.
and it really felt like you were playing a different character, it's not really the same in this kind of game.
Right. And like when it comes to like, you know, a lot of characters, they kind of played similar with the whole strike throw meta. There weren't a lot of characters I felt that really do stuff outside of that. And with the way the game was, it's like if your character doesn't have a fast mid, you're kind of screwed, type of thing, because like you kind of need it. So yeah, the whole strike throw meta, it also like, it made it feel a little bit more stale because it felt like there was less creativity with what you could do, and also like combo potential sometimes as well felt a little bit more limited. as well with what you could potentially do, and it is nicer, I would say, like when you can just free flow a little bit more with like random hits of combos into different types of situations. But with this game, it kind of felt like you get your hit, you're always going to want to go for like your same thing basically every time. But there wasn't as much reason to switch it up in MK, but in MK11. But yeah, I think those are like the main stuff, honestly. Also, I guess Combat League, like I was gonna say, like obviously the whole Wi-Fi thing and whatever, like it would have been nice if you just had a filter, man. It would have been nice if we could just filter out the people on Wi-Fi so that if you're wired, you could play other people that are wired. I think I saw something about before, like Tekken had that in their game, so it's like, well, they got it, so could we get it too? But yeah, that was the other thing. It's just like being forced to play people like 150 ping Wi-Fi in Combat League. Match starts, it's actually 180 or 190 ping or something. That kind of stuff was kind of silly. Like I feel like something would have been nice to be done about that. But yeah, like those are the main stuff. Obviously, the other bad thing is that they're not going to be adding any other patches or DLC or whatever for the game. It would have been nice if we got like a final patch that really, because right now the game, it kind of feels like it would have been nice if we got a final patch just to make things like a little bit better at the end there. But like that's the main stuff.
Yeah, I would also say like with Combat League, you know, all the rewards and stuff, it was nice, but I wish that Mortal Kombat had added some kind of a ranking, like leaderboard thing in terms of like how Street Fighter maybe has their you know, diamond rank, or you know how they rank up. It's basically like there's more of a reason to grind the online game, and in an environment where we were kind of stuck online for the majority of the game, it would have been really nice to have that option as well.
All right, guys. So that's mine and Biohazard's gripes when it comes to MK11. Feel free to let us know in the comment section what are your thoughts when it comes to all that. Also, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.